So hey one and all, welcome back to Netflix football and Man United versus West Ham FA Cup, and Reds are on their way to Wembley if we win it, and that if is a major if considering whatever happened in against Everton. So more about that on the tactical analysis. We'll come into that. But with me tonight are two very favorite guests of mine. Let's have them on screen. On my left is the ever-present Abhigda, the head of football operations for Orissa FC. On my right is Mr. Anshuman, the Twitter sensation, MUFC Delhi, and they have agreed to join me on such short notice. So thank you to both of them. So Abhigda is sporting a hoodie right now. So I'm just gonna ask him, are you shivering from facing David Moyes again?
No, not shivering, but I think historically West Ham have always been tough opponents for United. I remember a few tricky fixtures that have happened in the past. So uh, let's say I'm not 100% confident tonight. I'll put it that way.
Anshuman bhai, so West Ham again. Bruno Fernandes actually dropped for quite a first and actually rested. I shouldn't use the word dropped. It's too magnanimous
Yeah,
for that word.
exactly.
So Van de Beek, is it his chance to shine?
Definitely. It's like he's not getting his chances, which I thought he should have got instead of POGBA. But since POGBA is back in form, I'm happy with Van de Beek on the bench. But since today there's no POGBA, no Bruno, it's his chance to shine. He is playing in the role which he prefers, the number 10. And he will be backed up by Matic in the midfield and Fred. So yeah, definitely his chance to shine and make a claim for the coming matches in the Premier League as well.
Avikta, do you agree that as Anshuman bhai is a very ardent supporter of Van de Beek? He has even a customized jersey of that. We saw that earlier in his last podcast. So, Avikta, do you think that Van de Beek, whatever he has shown, the glimpses and all, has warranted a start? Let's forget his exploits for Ajax in the Champions League, because Premier League is a different ball game altogether. But do you think he has warranted or actually given any scope for Solskjaer to select him ahead the likes of Scott McTominay, who's been banging in the goals recently?
I think Van de Beek has a set of skills that make him useful for certain games. Let me put it that way. I think at the moment,
Avigda is just cut off probably. So we'll wait for Avigda to come back, but I'll just finish on what he was trying to say, that Van de Beek with his different set of skills probably give United a different poise altogether. Because Anshuman bhai, we had discussed this with you, that how Van de Beek is an enganche type of player, not a typical advanced playmaker of a number 10. Okay, Avigda is back.
yeah. Sorry guys, my internet connection is unstable. Am I audible now?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Van de Beek. He's probably
Yeah, his network is, messing
so
around
so,
big time.
so Van de Beek, different set of skills altogether. But Anshuman bhai, do answer this question for me. The game he was brought on in the match against Southampton where we struck 9. He was the only player looking out of pace and out of space. So I know you're a big fan, but does he warrant that starting booth right now in other Premier
To
League
be
matches?
very honest, I can't say if a guy is just playing 20-25 minutes a game.
Right.
In Premier League, he has not even played 20 minutes, 25 minutes for majority of the games.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So obviously a player will be a bit, out of pace when you are like 4-0, 5-0 up. Anyone who will come on the pitch, he will look a bit out of pace. All right. His skill set is totally different, as Abhigda was saying. He's much of a, you can say, a tricky player, rather than you can say very much gifted. He'd like to use his tricks, the one-touch football, and
More
the hold-up
technical
play.
player as a whole.
Yeah, he is a very technical player. He is not very gifted like Pogba, like he can send a 60-yard, diagonal ball. He won't do that. He will keep it simple, but he will keep the team moving. He won't make it static. So with Van de Beek, when Pogba and Bruno are there, obviously you can't expect Donny to start. But since Pogba is out of the equation for few weeks now, and we're seeing how much Bruno is overworked, overplayed. So I do think since like in this FA Cup game, Donny is starting. I do hope he starts in the next game as well. So that it gives him a bit of confidence, because next game is not that hard as well, and he will be needed. So against West Brom as well, I would love to see Donny and Bruno together, and then see how how they can possess a partnership in the midfield. Because 20 minutes or 25 minutes is not ideal to judge a player who's coming from a different league altogether, and in a totally different system, and where in a team where he's not the star. In Ajax, everything was revolving around him and Frankie de Jong, but now it's totally different. He's basically a bench player as of now. And if Pogba is sold next year, then he will come into play. Otherwise, he will remain a bench player, or he might leave eventually.
Right. Like Abhita, as Anshuman was speaking about how Van de Beek should start the next match against West Brom, but if you remember the reverse fixture, it was a very tough nut to crack, that defense, and we got through a penalty courtesy of Bruno Fernandes. Now, the main highlight of Van de Beek is that I saw him play well was against Leipzig in the Champions League, where he played as a box-to-box or a central midfielder, not the number 10, and he was interpreting space and he was linking play like havoc. It was immense. It was mesmerizing watching him. But against a deep packed defense, would you rather have a Scott McTominay to actually dominate in the box in those set piece situations, or have a Van de Beek who will not make extra spaces, considering West Brom will come into Old Trafford and will go to the Hawthorns and they'll just sit back? Do you think Van de Beek should start ahead of Scott McTominay in the coming matches altogether?
For teams usually that sit back and defend, teams like West Brom, the best way to sort of tackle those situations is to have players who stretch them. And Van de Beek is a player who stretches defenses because he doesn't take too much time on the ball. He's a player who likes to release the ball quickly, plays 1-2 touch football. And that's the most difficult thing for teams sitting back to deal with. Because teams sitting back to deal with would ideally want you to lump balls into the box. That's what they like to deal with. They would want you to cross balls into the box. That's what they prefer. If you're a team that's sitting in a low block, you would always prefer teams to be trying to play in the air more than on the ground. And Van de Beek is a sort of a player who does the complete opposite. And that's what teams hate, because he creates movement off the ball, doesn't take too much time on the ball. And then that's what teams like West Brom hate. Quick, the ball moving quickly in front of them, stretching them open and then playing through them. So, of course, he's somebody who, will be more suited to teams that sit back and try and defend.
Right. Because Van de Beek, not many people will link him. Okay, he's gone again. His network is an issue. Anshu and I'm coming back to you again. So Van de Beek, as Abhigda said, he is that link player, or that we cannot call him a Ram Deuter, because number one, lack of space in the Premier League, and number two is lack of games as such. But one question to you is that Paul Pogba is now sidelined for 3 to 4 weeks, and if I had asked you the same question around 6 weeks back, that Paul Pogba going out in injury will hamper us, would you have said the same thing?
Yeah, Paul's form in the recent weeks has been just spectacular. No one was giving him a chance, to just turn his form around like that. So yeah, everyone was surprised the way he just, started to perform. Right. 6 weeks back, I would have taken Donny in every game over Pogba. There was not even a question. But obviously, now that he is back in form, we still don't know, which Pogba will show up. But as of late, like for the past 5 or 6 weeks, we were seeing a more defensive Pogba who was, willing to put up the hard yard, go for the tackles, win the ball back.
More disciplined Pogba.
Yeah, more disciplined and more defensive Pogba. He was willing to, just run back around and get the ball. And then from the deep, he, initiate the play or give the ball to Bruno. So yeah, Pogba at this stage of the, season, going out is a big miss. But as Ole said, he will be back in 2 weeks, so that's a huge relief. That's for sure. Because we will be playing Chelsea and City in back-to-back weeks. So we need him for those games.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
for those games. Because in those games, most probably we will be playing the counter-attacking game. With Scott and Fred sitting behind Pogba and Bruno.
right. So just to touch up on the lineups, so I'll just show you the Man United lineups first. So as talked about, Dean Henderson makes his comeback on goal. Wan-Bissaka, the ever-present Wan-Bissaka. I don't know when he'll get tired. Alex Telles partnering him on fullback. Maguire, Lindelof, the trusted pair of Ole. Matic making a return to the lineup with the Fred, Greenwood, Van de Beek, Rashford, an attacking setup with Anthony Martial getting his chance up top to impress. Now, Victor, what surprises me is Jared Bowen, Pablo Fornals, Thomas Suchek. Thomas Suchek's red card has been overturned. No Michael Antonio for West Ham? Gamble?
Yeah, this question is for me.
No, Vigda, I think, has still again got disconnected.
Yeah.
His network is. Yeah, go on, Anshuman bhai.
Yeah, in my opinion, they have gone with a defensive approach. Like they are coming at Old Trafford and they are basically saying, all right, stay in the match for 60-65 minutes. If we can hold them or if we are leading by that time, we can bring on, Antonio and we can stretch the game. If we are down, still we can bring Antonio and try to get back at them. We are thinking, we have given the players the rest and we are just thinking to, just get the job done, regardless of the players. And Martial's chance was, I can say, a bit due because Cavani has played like 3 games in just 7 or 8 days. So he needed a bit of rest and he will be much needed against the taller defenders of West Brom and more physical defenders of West Brom to hold play. So that's a good decision. Rashford is there. And when it comes to Wan-Bissaka, I think there is no particular backup. And obviously, Ole is trying to get his first trophy and there is no particular backup. That's why he's playing week in and week out. Because Williams has just come back from injury. So whether he is fit enough to start or not, we don't know. And we don't have a particular right back apart from him. Shaw needed the rest, much deserved. So out and out, I'm quite happy with the lineup. With few changes, I would like to see Dino starting for us in the Premier League as well on the next game. I'm just tired of seeing De Gea making howlers week after. He's just so inconsistent. He's not a top goalkeeper anymore for me. He should be claiming back his position, as Ole said, rather than just stay in the lineup.
Right. So we take a comment. So Jhumai, okay, this is my friend Soham all the way from Germany. Is Bai injured again? I guess Bai has not recovered yet. So we'll see more about that. We'll get you news more about that. Now, Avikda, hopefully your connection is stable right now, or is he stuck? He's stuck again. My God, whenever the question goes to him, he's getting stuck. So, Anshuman bhai, I'll continue with you again. So, you might have heard, or you must have heard, that the ruck-up that Amad Diallo is causing right now in the under-23s at this moment of time is he has had 4 assists and 2 goals, if I'm not mistaken, for the under-23s right now. And justified, okay, Victor is back again. There are 2 Avitas, so I'll remove one. Avita, is your connection stable right now?
Neil, very sorry, man. It's very unstable today. The connection, the Wi-Fi, the mobile things. I'm just dropping in and out.
No issues. So now Anshuman bhai has dropped out a bit. So I'll continue this question with you. Is that you have definitely seen how Amad Diallo is racking up the goals and assists for the under-23s, and justified call-up to the senior squad. He's in the substitutes bench right now. So United needed a right winger. Facundo Pellistri came in. Amad Diallo came in. He has been hitting it and hitting it by the yardstick, as if I say. for the under 23s. Do you think that our right wing crisis can be solved by Amad Diallo to some extent, or do we need a specialist right winger like a Jadon Sancho?
Too early to say for Amad Diallo because, of course, he's young, and sometimes it happens when a player moves to a new league in his enthusiasm, and a lot of things that happen when you join a new club. You sort of, uh, things click for you initially, but the question is whether he can do it day in and day out consistently. So, uh, of course, he's very highly built. He's somebody who uh, the experts say can go on to become something really special. But you have to also understand that what he's producing with the under 23s and the level of the Premier League is very different. The Champions League is very different. So let us sort of assess him and see how he does if he gets an opportunity in this game. And I think Solskjaer would love to phase him in. The worst thing that you can do to a youngster is to thrust him, straight away into something wherein he loses his confidence if he doesn't do well. So I think the key would be to phase him in initially. And a great example of that is what Sir Alex did with Cristiano, because a lot of people forget that Cristiano didn't just walk straight into the United team after he came in from Sporting. He was gradually sort of eased into the team, given that sort of confidence. And Sir Alex always knew which game to put him in and what time to put him on. So I think those are key. So Solskjaer holds the key. Definitely, the boy has talent. It will now depend on the manager how he uses him, how he does in the games, and whether that builds his confidence up or not. And the good thing with top players is once they get into the team, it's very hard to leave them out. The age doesn't matter. So if he has the ability, he'll walk straight into the team, and then it'll be very difficult to dislodge him. So time will tell, and his performances will tell whether he solves the problem on the right wing for us.
Right. Anshuman bhai, how gassed up are you on the whole Amad Diallo thing? Or to be fair, Sola Solskjaer has just signed his first professional contract with Man United, and that quartet of those Sola Solskjaer, Charlie McNeil, your Amad Diallo is always there, Hannibal Mejbri. They are tearing it apart. I watched the under 23 game versus Blackburn, and the fight they put up, being 4-2 behind, winning the match 6-4, was phenomenal. And Hannibal Mejbri is like a Grealish beta. Like he was fouled over. Like I counted personally 23 times, but it might be more. It might be a bit here and there. So since Pogba, I don't know, his brother has been at it again, speaking about if he's leaving or not. So do you think Hannibal Mejbri and Amad Diallo can actually cement their places in the lineup starting next season?
I would rather see them on loan period first before just throwing them into the first team, because I will keep Diallo with the first team. Mejbri needs to bulk up a bit
Right.
before we can even think about getting him into the first team. He should be sent like Gardner. He should be sent to a loan club where he would be promised game time. I would still go with Sancho in the summer. Keep Diallo as a backup, because what happens is you are going 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. They are basically blows hot and cold. And if we have to give a City or a Liverpool a title challenge, we can't go just with hot and cold players. We are already having hot and cold defense. One match they are like prime Iniesta and Maldini. Next match they are like prime Holding and Mustafi in the back. So it doesn't happen like that. You got to have some consistency.
Right.
The only consistent player we have right now, we can say, is basically Bruno, not even Rashford. He misses 2 chances every game. So obviously, we need at least 4 players to give at least a title shot up top. So I'm not convinced about going with just Diallo in the next season as a right winger. I would love to see him in and around the team as a backup. We should go for Sancho. In case of Mejbri, he should be loaned for at least one season. Just get a bit toughened up in the championship, and then even in Bundesliga, where he can just play his normal flair game, and then we can call him back, and then we will see where we go from there.
Quite an interesting thought that and it's a testament to the fact that how Jimmy Gardner is actually flourishing for not for Watford, and now for probably Nottingham Forest, if I'm not wrong. So right now, even Tai Chong has switched club because he's not getting game time for Werder Bremen. But let's see what happens. But right now,
I don't see Chong having a future out here.
Especially when the likes of Facundo Pellistri and Diallo being
there
signed,
are talented
with
players,
being there.
but there are talented players, but the likes of Chong, even I have my doubts over Gardner. If he can bulk up a bit and if he can improve himself, then fine. Otherwise, he will have to be sold. He might stay with the team in and around for a season or two, but eventually he will be sold if he don't improve. He is good, in the deeper role, but then he will have to bulk up. Championship is different. Premier League is entirely different. You can't just keep on, playing in the championship or just make a move. You will have to bulk up. Biggest example is Greenwood. He just bulked up, like added those muscles, and he's a totally different player now.
Within the lockdown period.
Yeah.
So that's a time that's only time is going to tell. But what we can tell right now is we're going to have a tactical segment. So I'm going in with Abhigta, considering his eyes are blinking. That means his connection is still there. So the tactical analysis part of it, as usual, I have a few slides I'd like to show you. So this is the defensive setup United has had for the Everton game. So Maguire playing someone on side. Now, what doesn't surprise me is the same thing that we consider against City. It's just repeating itself over and over again. Same mistake, and teams have taken a note to this, and they are playing the same out-swinging ball. And I don't understand why United have been playing that high line of a defense. Now, if you put two steps, knowing that United defenders will not catch up with the likes of Calvert-Lewin or anyone like the likes of Sterling. Here you can see again Rashford losing the man, and Shaw eventually losing out on the one who gets the flick. Similarly, Shaw marking John Stones, who eventually gets the goal, and Rashford actually letting go of Sterling, who gets in the header in the first place. So, is this cause for major concern at the drawing board for United's coaching staff?
See, they're doing something which is the error that they're committing is a schoolboy error, because even at our level, this is something which is it's a very stupid mistake that you make, because defenses ideally should hold a high line. The deeper you end up in your penalty box, the worse it becomes, because it's just simple. Your distance from goal should be as far away as possible, right? It's logical. You need to be as far away from goal in terms of contact for the opposition as possible. So the high line is fine. The problem is that Maguire drops too soon. Defenses are always told to hold until the ball's almost like left the foot of the guy who's taking the free kick. And in this case, Maguire is already on his way, 2 or 3 seconds before that happens. So that's a cardinal sin. You can never drop too early. So because when you drop, any offside call goes out of the window, and B, you're allowing the opposition to come closer to your goals. So you're supposed to hold as long as possible. That is advantageous, because then what happens is, if the opposition move quicker than you, they're offside first. And second, you're delaying the decision making till the last moment, because then you're able to judge the flight of the ball and then sort of, measure distances and sort of meet the ball if it's in your zone. So the biggest error that Maguire makes here is that he drops too early for my liking. Should have held maybe for a second and a half longer, and then it's something that that the most amateur of defenses in professional football are taught. Hold your line for as long as possible. Avoid dropping till the last moment unless it becomes really, really vital. So it's not the error here is not something that's very minute. It's a very grievous error, and of a nature that sort of you look at when under 16s and under 17s learn their craft. So I'm baffled as to why such things are taking place, especially when you have a full England international in Harry Maguire. sort of organizing the backline. So there's no escape from this. It's something that they'll have to shoulder responsibility for and correct.
Right. Now, Anshuman, I'd like to ask you the same question. Avigdor gave us the tactical inputs, and even though you know that this is like we are discussing this, they go over it on their discussion panels, on their video analysis, on their sessions over and over again. But still, if you see this slide, Anshuman, here Zinchenko is still taking the free kick, and Maguire's position, his position is playing everyone on side. So like even the Southampton goal last season we conceded where it ended 2-2. Even that corner you cannot be offside, but letting go of your man, even Maguire, you can all the blame will go on Maguire because he's the captain and he's marshalling the defense. But what intrigues me is Rashford letting go of his man and Luke Shaw letting go of his man, and the same repeated over here. You see Rashford, number 10, letting go of Michael Keane, who eventually gets the knock on, and Luke Shaw, whereas Luke Shaw is over here. You can see there's Luke Shaw, and he's eventually going, and that's where the ball ends up. So again, cause for worry, Anshuman.
Huge worry, actually. It's not a small schoolboy error. It happens week after week after week, and Maguire will have to take responsibility for this. He is not hiding from this. He is literally like 2 yards away from the last Everton player. He is making like entire backline onside for the Toffees. And then again, when he's marshalling the troops from behind, he will also have to look around him. Look at the positioning of McTominay and the number 4 behind him. McTominay has literally no idea of even a player over there. He's just looking after who's going to take the free kick. If it's over the head of McTominay, he's done. So basically, like, we have the height, we have the physicality, but we are not using it in the box. And then, of course, not to tell what our keeper does when the ball is in the air. So I won't even go to that.
Quite a frustrating, ample words of frustration from Anshuman. But again, these are very much schoolboy errors, as Avigdor said. I know he runs this daily with his team, and it gets talked about. And what I don't understand in this fact is United's reluctance to actually hold that line. Maguire, I have seen for England playing in a back three, defending set pieces very well. So, Avigdor, I'd ask you this, that is this something that the coaching staff, rather than the players, need to look at? Because in Leicester, he was very, very good. Or is it that we actually, in this situation over here, we cannot actually blame the partner? Yes, individual errors have cost us, individual errors happen in football, that's normal. But do you think the coaching staff needs a rewrite of the tactics as a whole?
There can be only two reasons for this. A, Maguire is not confident of how the rest of the team will react to the free kick, which is why he sort of drops early in order to, in his mind, make sure that he's there to meet the ball in and around his zone, which shows that he's not entirely confident in how the first block. You call them the blocking players. The first sort of few players in front of lining up in front of the free kick. So he's not very confident that they'll sort of meet the ball or that they'll lose their man, which is why he's dropping early. It's natural. So when you're not confident of someone dealing with it, you try and take it into your own hands. So that's one of the possible reasons.
Isn't that alarming, considering that he's the captain of the team, not trusting his own players?
No, it's not alarming. It's something psychological, and it happens a lot in football, because once things happen to you again and again, and when the same mistakes occur again and again, as a captain, he sort of feels that he needs to take the responsibility to correct it. Sometimes to his detriment, and sometimes to the team's detriment. That is one possible reason. And B, the other reason is that when you have, I know this because in football, when something happens to you over and over again, it becomes a habit. Just like winning is a habit, losing is also a habit. When you concede a goal in a similar manner, sometimes when we look at it as fans, we sort of wonder, why is it happening again and again? But as a team, you find it very difficult to get out of that rut until you A, change players, or B, you change the system in which you're sort of approaching free kicks. So I can understand psychologically why it's happening to them, because it's happened more than once. It's happened 4 or 5 times now.
Right.
And they are sort of caught in that zone wherein it happens to them again and again, and they are not able to break that sort of streak, if you may, if I may call it.
Right. Right.
So whatever it is, either case, whether it's Maguire not trusting the players, or whether it's them not able to break the streak, I think the coaching staff ultimately will have to take responsibility for it. How? Uh, I think they have to begin with they need to make sure that, see, things like these are done in training most of the time.
Right.
And
Right.
it also depends on how your training goes, in terms of whether they're able to break that streak in training, whether they're able to make sure that whatever they are practicing is successful or not. That gives the team confidence, and then they're able to replicate it on the pitch. So
Right.
also sometimes what happens is, when you're winning games and you're conceding goals like this, you sort of tend to brush it under the carpet, thinking that this is a one-off and it'll disappear. But they develop into serious habits, and then when it starts costing you games and points, that's when usually you try and address it. So the best time to address it is now, I feel, for United. So hopefully before it costs us more games and points.
Like that psychology thing, I get it, because you're over conscious on the fact that this has happened before. So as a captain, you think, chalo, okay, I'm going to go there and take responsibility and stop it, and that usually results in an error. Okay, so we talked about United's defensive approach from set pieces and how they conceded the goal, but let's talk about West Ham a bit. So Anshuman, I'll start with you, and I'm getting another slide again. So here is the fixture this season at West Ham, against West Ham, where we scored that controversial goal where Dean Henderson curled the ball out and sent David Moyes into fume. But this is the defensive side of us. We are again playing a very high line against the likes of Oller and Bowen. Now Oller has gone to Ajax actually, and Suchek is now playing there. But if you remember the first half, Jared Bowen totally cut open the defense, and this high line, considering the same defensive pairing is playing, because Alex Telles is over here, it gives me worries, because United are going to try to play the same game, and the likes of the long balls are always on. So one missed time, it's all over. But counter to that is how Harry Maguire dealt with Calvert-Lewin for the entirety of the Everton match. They were trying the same tactic, but every ball came towards Calvert-Lewin as actually headed away. Now, Anshuman, my question to you, or my ask to you is, now they follow up with the two striker system almost, because if at every point of time there's a support striker with the main striker. So either it's Suchek or it's Bowen out there. So do you think now Harry Maguire will deal with his man? He deals with them. But Lindelof, yes, he had a better game than in standards than what he has had. Would you trust him again in this crucial cup fixture knockout time?
I do feel without Holler or without Antonio starting, our defense will be a bit, as you can say, much more relaxed in terms of the physicality they will be dealing with. The physicality, I guess, is not the problem with us. The problem with the pace, because both our central defenders are slow. So if Bowen or if someone like Fornells get ahead of them, it's basically done for him. Done for our defense. We are not tracking them back.
Right.
And with Suchek now, he will be like, he will be a danger from the set pieces, and he will be, holding up the ball in the midfield and in the forward areas. So that presents a different type of challenge. And he will be most probably taking on, Lindelof, so that he can put so much pressure on that guy, because we all know Lindelof sometimes suffer in the air. So I don't know which kind of tactics, West Ham is thinking about, because they have gone without a central striker. They are playing Suchek, and they will be trying to make the runs. But defensively, in my opinion, we are more sorted today than the last time we faced West Ham, because they are without a striker. That's my personal choice, personal opinion. Sorry.
That's a good point, but let's see if that happens. I'll talk about the formation in a bit, but before that, Abhigda, let's take a look at this slide. This is West Ham against Southampton. Now, this, if you remember the same United match, they were always pressing up and creating this wall, if I must say, and United need to bypass that. Now, when Paul Pogba drifted in field, that's when the magic started happening. And since there's no Paul Pogba, we have Matic and Fred, who looks a bit awry playing on that right hemisphere of the field when he's playing. So his passes are a bit off, and because with Matic he'll drop that further 2 yards because of that holding kind of a presence. So, and without Van de Beek making those high pressure close downs that Bruno makes, so I think that they'll get this much of a space. But Avigda, do you think that United would find it very difficult to break this first line of press or break this wall in midfield? Because we have seen this happening over and over again.
Yeah, I will.
So sorry. Go on.
It all depends how quickly United move the ball. Any press, any sort of screening can be broken if you move the ball quickly enough and you play diagonally through the line. But you sort of make it difficult for yourself if you're moving the ball too much side to side. That's when problems start occurring. But if you move the ball quickly, if you move the ball diagonally, any defense in the world can be broken. But West Ham is a team that is very, very high on confidence at the moment.
Right.
And from whatever I've observed, David, it's not rocket science in terms of what they do. They usually go for man in midfield, which presents its own set of unique challenges for the opposition, depending on how technically adept they are in terms of releasing the ball when they are on the ball. Fred, though very mobile, though able to cover a lot of space in midfield, is guilty of losing the ball and turning it over more than once, which is what worries me. Because Matic isn't exactly somebody who breaks lines when he tries to play through, which is why I'm very, very interested to see the position that Van de Beek takes up. Will he be playing closer to the strikers, or will he be dropping a bit deep and playing a little closer to Fred and Matic in midfield, which I think is going to decide the game for us. Because if Van de Beek is closer to the strikers, it presents this huge gap between him and Fred and Matic, which with their limited ability on the ball might pose a challenge. Whereas if he's sort of in a median between the strikers and the other two midfielders, I think it might work better for us. But these are all conjectures. It again depends, because United on paper have the better technical players on the ball, and if we are looking to play quickly, if we are looking to play through the lines, I think we'll have a good evening today. But if we are sort of sucked into, because West Ham will cause problems, they like to play in the channels, they like to sort of pin your back four back, keep you on the back foot most of the time, and you will be familiar with this.
United have been guilty of, like, not spreading the play too often.
Yes, I think United still are raw in that aspect, whereas City is a much more developed team in that aspect, and that's what Liverpool were extremely good at last year, stretching teams and then playing through them. So I think, which is why I said to you in another podcast, I don't feel United are up for a title challenge this year, because there is some areas of their game that still lack maturity, and I think Solskjaer, who is also learning as he goes on as a coach, I think he'll sort of also refine his methodologies over a period of time, depending on whether United stick with him in the long term or not. So, as you rightly said, United are lacking on that front. They will have to sort of, United struggle against teams that are physical, that sit back maybe and are more compact. It's an evolution of a team. We've done better this year than we did last year. So hopefully we'll do much better next year than we've done this year. So I'm hoping that things like these get sort of addressed, with time.
hate to use that word, next year is our year. A certain fan base is guilty of that. But Anshuman, I'll start with you on one thing. I'll ask you on one thing before we wrap this up very, very quickly. Is that if you can see this, if you can see this formation, now, doesn't it remind you of something? Anshuman, what it reminds me of is that David Moyes has tried to take a page of Pep Guardiola's book. This is the same formation Pep Guardiola played against us in the in the I forgot the name of the cup, in the Mickey Mouse Cup, whatever. So Yarmolenko playing as a false nine, Bowen and Souček would be interchanging wings, just like Phil Foden and Sterling or Mahrez did that day. And Yarmolenko and Fornals making that inverted W. You cannot see it right, but if I interchange that, and do you think Moyes has gone for such an elaborate approach, seeing that United have suffered trying to contain players in that false nine zone, playing in those pockets and interchanging passes? That breaks our defense, doesn't it?
I don't think Souček playing on the wings. I do feel it would be like, Rice will be given a free role.
Right.
Fornals won't be at number 10 either. When they will step up on the pitch, I do feel that Souček will drop back with Noble, and Rice will be having a free role. Those two wingers will be Fornals and Bowen. They can be switching up places, and Yarmolenko with his pace will be up front. I do think like holding up on Souček will be a huge victory for us if we can deprive him of the ball service, because we all know how good he is in the air, and if he gets the header in, it's most probably going in the goal. So in my opinion, like those three guys, the front four is not basically the front four. I think they're playing a 4-3-3 with Rice in the more of a number 10 or in a free flowing role, because he can carry the ball. We have seen he has an eye for the pass. He can put on the through ball and the long ball from the from the deeper positions on with the runs he makes behind their strikers. We have already seen him on the edge of the boxes.
Right.
So in my opinion, Souček will drop back with Noble, where they both are comfortable. Rice will be having a free flowing game, like number 10 or a number 8, whether he wants to play. And then Bowen and Fornals will be switching up there depending upon how they good are, against our fullbacks. And obviously, the false nine Yarmolenko is all up there just for the pace, because he got no physicality as such. He will be trying to make runs on both the defenders, because we the entire world knows they are slow.
And that's the key word here. Whenever teams have tried to make runs against us, we have suffered. Against Fulham, against Southampton, we've all been caught out of runs and balls into the channels. Avigdor, would you agree to my earlier statement that Moyes has tried to copy Pep one over here and actually play a W formation over here with Yarmolenko dropping in and Rice being the Fernandinho of that Manchester City match? Do you think?
We'll have to actually see how he lines up, because I'll tend to agree with Anshuman a bit, because I don't think this is how they might line up. Whether they do actually do, we'll have to see. But I don't think this is what West Ham are accustomed to sort of playing with in terms of a structure. So to sort of copy Pep is one thing, but you need to have the players to also execute it.
Exactly.
Which, with all due respect to West Ham, I don't think they have the, so Souček is no Mahrez and Bowen is no Phil Foden or Sterling. So I don't apprehensive about whether they'll line up like this, but let's sort of wait and see how it all unfolds.
Okay, so we'll have to wait and see. And 12 minutes on to kickoff, we'll just end this show with a quick round of predictions. Avigdor, starting with you, how's the game looking to you on paper right now?
Heart says 2-0
Heart
to United.
You can't say anything else.
Mind says 1-1 and it's going to penalties.
Oh shit, man. Not a late nighter again. Anshuman bhai, in this Valentine's week, does your heart say United win as well?
Bhai, I never predict about any score in which United plays. I will be going. I will be keeping numb on this as well.
Great. But
My
how do you think
predictions are
the
never
game is
right.
going to unfold? At least we can have a chat on that.
Yeah. In my opinion, we are getting a 2-1. We never keep a clean sheet. We won't keep a clean sheet. And if we are conceding, I hope we concede early, not late. So let's see.
And again, I don't want to witness another comeback fest and Bruno coming on. That guy Bruno and Wan-Bissaka. And I'll surely find Wan-Bissaka malnutrition at the end of this season. The way he's been rampaging up and down the wing, it's a treat to watch, but it's not a treat for his health. And his defense actually suffers because of that. It's what I feel, because fatigue sets up, it creeps in, and he's been playing non-stop because of the lack of a proper right winger holding out with is his primary aim. So we'll keep this at a premium over here. Valentine's week is going on, so heart always says Manchester United. But I'll agree with Avigda, and I think a 1-1 draw and up to penalties. And I'm not confident about penalties. But what we are confident about is reaching 600 subscribers. So guys, hit that subscribe button, and it's already 525, 75 more to go. Let's see if we can reach there within the next 6 or 7 days, and that would be a privilege. So thank you, Avigda. Thank you, Anshuman bhai, for joining on such short notice. It's been a pleasure hosting you both legends as well. Let's hope for a better net connection on Avigda's behalf. And Anshuman, let's hope that your current never goes off in our podcast, because that's happened quite a few times. So chalo, see you guys next time. Bye-bye for now.
Okay, bye.
So that was podcast with Neil, with the two legends, Avigda and Anshuman bhai. Let's hope that it's going to be a crunch match. David Moyes, we know how difficult he is. So without much further ado, let's tune into the game right now. So 10 minutes to go. Have yourselves a break, grab yourselves a cup of coffee, and hit that subscribe button right now. 575 on to 600, and I'm sure you're going to get this. And even if you watch this at 2x speed, you might even catch the main part of tactical analysis done by done by Anshuman and done by Avigda. Ajit has deal with the comment. Van de Beek played as a CDM for Ajax. What do you think? You can play there for no chance. Van de Beek is not a CDM. He's a deep lying playmaker, and it's suicide to play a deep lying playmaker in the Premier League. It's lack of physicality. He will destroy everything. Not a good night. So it's match time right now. So bye bye for now. See you very, very soon. PES 21 teams tomorrow, and let's see you 10 p.m. Bye bye. Let's enjoy the game. GGMU.